What's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Niko House. And of course, as always, I'm your humble host, Niko House. Today, we about to have a little fun exposing the fake left. I know a lot of you all have been waiting for this moment ever since I sat down with Jack Posobiec and, had an interview on a major TV network where I was asked, as a progressive, how I felt about the Democratic Party throwing Biden and Harris into my face, not only as a progressive, but as a black man. Now, I know I talked about a lot of stuff in the interview, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, okay? Clearly. Because the reactionary left, I use that term very loosely, I mean that about as much as I mean that the Democrats are left, if you catch my drift. The neo-progressive left, they are upset with me, people. They are upset. Why? Because Jack is a conservative and OAN is a conservative network. So they're upset with me, As a leftist, it is my job to only go on leftist channels. It is my job to only talk with other leftists who agree with me. It is my job to live in this echo chamber of ours. I should be appreciative of this echo chamber. I should really only talk to people who agree with us, because at the end of the day, those are going to be the people that are on our side, and we don't need to worry about anybody else. Why win over people to your cause when you could just lose and be the minority, but look really cool and self-righteous doing so? Yeah. A while back, Bernie Sanders caught a lot of slack. He got a lot of flack, I should say. Remember whenever he was like, yeah, I'll do a town hall with Fox News. Why wouldn't I? And Elizabeth Warren says, we can't legitimize Fox News. Kamala Harris said, we can't legitimize Fox News. We can't. Even AOC said that at one point before she went on there. And of course, her and I are a little bit different. She went on to Fox News and she was like, what are you talking about? Voter suppression is real. And then she hops off because she wanted to, defend Bernie, but also try to implicate Republicans. But whenever people were like, well, yeah, she's actually right. Look at all the places that Bernie supporters were suppressed. She was like, oh, no. Just kidding. Goes on Twitter, completely backtracks. But I didn't want to legitimately see that's not me. I don't just change my face based off of who's in front of me and what network I'm on. See, once upon a time, when Bernie got attacked for, reaching out to the other side, espousing the same leftist ideology, but reaching out to the other side because he understood how important it was to build this rainbow coalition, as Fred Hampton will call it. If we're going to win, if we're going to beat the oligarchy, we have to educate people on all sides. We have to let them know that all of us are not like Joyanne Reed and Rachel Maddow. In fact, that they are the minority. But that's not supposed to happen anymore, apparently. See, the same people, Robbie Martin, well, actually, no, I think Robbie Martin probably still feels like that. Robbie Martin's an obtuse character. I really hope that one day he's as pretty as his sister so he can get a real job too. With that being said, Ben Dixon, all these leftists, I genuinely wonder what you were saying whenever Bernie was being smeared and maligned and attacked. I know what AOC leftists were saying. I know AOC distanced herself from Bernie whenever he went on, championed the endorsement of Joe Rogan. Now, none of Bernie's supporters, like real supporters, not AOC. AOC was a flyby. Everybody should know that by now. But his real supporters would that's absurd. That's absurd. We should be happy. Say if Joe Rogan was a conservative, we should be happy that Joe Rogan, who has such a massive platform, thinks that Bernie is so honest, has so much integrity and has at least policy decent enough that he would put his brand on the line to say that he would vote for him. That's what those leftists were saying whenever they were trying to kiss Bernie's ass and ride his coattails. But I'm a black man, okay? And I didn't endorse Bernie, so therefore things work a little bit differently to me. So whenever they were like, Bernie, well, when he did the town hall, if he goes on Tucker Carlson, because he's talking about Medicare for all, because he's talking about, well, actually, it's usually just Medicare for all, for whatever reason. Maybe climate change, and then how dangerous, maybe, the whole Trump's the most dangerous president in history, which is technically not true. But that's what they say, right? Now, of course, I went on OAN, and I completely switched up everything that I usually say, right? No. When I went on OAN, if you watched the interview, which most of you I'm sure did, you know what I said? Same thing I always say. How could the Democratic Party look me as a black man in my face after bragging about having the most diverse, quote unquote, Democratic primary field full of people of color, even a couple people who claim to be black people, and then throw the only segregationist in the race in my face? Okay, cool. You don't want to give me person of color. You don't want to give me Tulsi. Well, can you at least give me the guy who actually has legitimate, genuine plans? And for the most part of history of fighting for black people, if you're not going to give me Tulsi, can you at least have Bernie if you're going to give me an old white guy? Yeah, we're going to give you a segregationist. You better deal with it. Okay, well, everybody's screaming defund the police because, they're killing me and not being held accountable. Look at what happened with Breonna Taylor. Still waiting for AG Daniel Cameron to get fired. Right? Because he was able to lie because they were, the cops did their job, right? They were paid and created, that task force was created to get black people out of the hood so they could gentrify the area with a federal grant. So black people like myself get killed by cops. We just wanted somebody who maybe has, doesn't have a record of putting that system in place, or even has a record of prosecuting at least one cop during her entire attorney general and district attorney career. Just one. Can we get one? But no, we don't get that. Instead, we're told, because remember, y'all, this is how little black people's issues matter to these type of people, like Robbie Martin, like Benjamin Dixon, and others. These motherfuckers said, zero. I still have not seen a tweet about the shit that I actually talked about in the interview. At all. Whatsoever. They talked about Jack Posobiec's name multiple times. They even went out of their way to find Wikipedia pictures, screenshots of Jack Posobiec and things that he's been affiliated with. I'm like, bro, so y'all took all that time to research about Jack Posobiec, but you couldn't take the time to research about the fact that Joe Biden say he does not want his kids growing up in a racial jungle? Oh, and I'm supposed to take y'all seriously as the left? Bruh, think about that. Now, because I also am in a documentary that Jack is doing. However, because of it being his documentary and his team, I can't tell you what the documentary is about, but I can tell you why I was invited. Because at a conference that we were both at, that was mainly conservatives, Niko, in a room full of white people effectively, went up and made an argument for reparations in the historic systemic plight of black people. And Jack was so impressed by that at the time, which was only about 3 months ago, that he was like, wow, I would love to hear an honest take from the left for my documentary. And I needed to be from you. See, it's different, right? Because I know like leftists aren't used to that, because whenever black people make an argument that is so profound that exposes both the Democrats and Republicans, progressives actually avoid those black people. They don't like them very much. They don't uplift them. They suppress them. They are made uncomfortable by them. They make sure that they can never get the microphone that they deserve because of what they might do with it and who they might expose with it and the grifts they might uncover and the hypocrisy they might shed light on. So they don't like that. But Jack, for every problem that everybody might have with him, heard a black man who dresses a little flamboyantly, if we might admit, right? A black man who's a little bit out there, a leftist, who stood up on that stage and passionately argued for reparations and said, yo, if there's anybody I want to represent the left in my documentary, I need to be this guy. The black man. The neo-progressive left is so uncomfortable with this because they don't do this. When they see or hear something like that, they run in the other direction. Remember how they didn't really mess. They didn't like Breed Joy Gray like that until she was Bernie surrogate. They weren't uplifting her when she was Jill Stein surrogate. Remember? See, Ben Dixon be chasing Massa, right? He be looking to go on MSNBC and then push the same conspiracy theories that they push. That's why the white neo-progressive establishment loves Ben Dixon. He busts out a good little Uzi Vert jig. Busts out a cute little jig for them. But he'll never step on camera with me. And he'll never be uplifted because he's saying something that's true in a historic context. That may be bold, even though it shouldn't be, but it's true. It is a true reflection of what minorities or, leftists, people of color are dealing with today in real time and comparing it to what we've been dealing with from this same party. He will never do that. See, people forget Ben Dixon was a Warren supporter. After being a Bernie supporter, then jumping over to the Warren squad because a lot of people, a lot of the establishment's black men specifically, jumped on the Warren train because they thought that she would be an acceptable level of progressivism. And of course, TYT and their ilk convinced a lot of people that Warren was just a little bit less progressive version of Bernie, but younger and a female. Remember? So they were trying to hedge their bets a bit. And then whenever people saw that train going off the road, Bill Dixon's like, oh, bro, I'm a black Bernie, bro. What you talking about? I've been here. No. So the black men who chose to, be honest, tell the truth, fight for something genuine instead of fighting for whatever the hell these people want to call electoral politics or fake electoral politics. See, for me, I'm a black man. If you know anything about black history, you know this. Historically speaking, black people have been the number one demographic that have been victims of election integrity. You'll probably see a consistent theme with me. I'm not really ashamed of it. So the issues that have historically affected black people, coincidentally enough, are the things that I end up primarily focusing on, of course, in the grand scheme, because it does affect everybody, but because I am a black man who has been in one way, shape, or form affected by those same issues that were happening 150, 270, 50, 30, 40, 20 years ago. Those are the things that I gravitate towards. But the issues that have primarily affected black people are not the things that people like Ben Dixon gravitate towards. Have you noticed that? Because like I just said, election integrity is something that everybody knows what gerrymandering is, right? Everybody. But that's what they'll say. They'll say gerrymandering, but pretend like that's not election fraud and election rigging, except for everybody kind of accepts that it is. Voter suppression. We know that happens, right? But they'll call it voter suppression. They won't call it election fraud and election rigging. Even though, once again, that whole concept is what has primarily affected black people. And they won't call it out if the Dems are guilty of it, right? Like we saw how black people were being suppressed. Even AOC discussed it before she went back on Twitter and backtracked. She discussed it on Fox News and then went back and backtracked. But we know that the primary demographic that was suppressed during Super Tuesday specifically were black people. Ben Dixon and his ilk are nowhere to be found. Whenever Warren, Julian Castro, and others were lying about their support for reparations because they made it clear they weren't really talking about reparations, where was Ben Dixon and these people like? Where were they at? Worried about Jack Posobiec? In other words, y'all were more worried about every way you could solidify your grift to make a dollar. But not reaching out to the other side, not building coalitions, and damn sure not worried about black people's issues. There is no excuse for the amount of laziness that this movement, no, I don't say this movement, but their movement has suffered from. Like it's disgusting now. The amount of hypocrisy being displayed, the amount of cowardice, just sheer coward. Not a single, they will retweet my, look, they was trying like they didn't know who I was when I was out here feeding and serving them asses in debates. I was out there just handing them the L's, bro. Fresh, hot L's for everybody. Come on down. Y'all know I'm really good at cooking when I feel like it. I be seasoning it up, chop it up a little bit, put some onions in between it. I even got vegan options for the vegans out there. Put it in that oven for 425 on an hour, about an hour. Sometimes I gotta open it. Ain't done yet. Put it back in. 15 minutes later, open out, set it up. Make sure that shit cool down because you don't want it to be too hot when you serve it up to them. And I go, take this whole ass L, and they ain't nowhere to be found after that. They're nowhere to be found. Everybody in this country wants to talk about socialism, right? But they don't talk about the leaders of socialism in this country, which were people like Fred Hampton, Angela Davis, Bobby Seale, Huey P. Newton, Martin Luther King, the people who took the most heat for not only being socialists, but the real anti-fascists, like Sergeant McDaniel, who went to Italy and was a fighter pilot to fight against Mussolini and then subsequently helped fight against Nazism, or other black leaders went to go fight against Nazism. They're actual anti-fascists, not the ones who play anti-fascists for Twitter. For some reason, these people don't get talked about. Because then you'd have to know that these people didn't like the Democratic Party. Bobby Seale, one of the co-founder of the Black Panthers, was arrested outside the Democratic National Convention for protesting the Vietnam War, saying that none of the Democrats were not on our side. Of course, neither were the Republicans. Was arrested and then was gagged when he was taken to trial for this. See, if you talked about the true leaders of socialism, just like if you talked about the true plight of Americans, African Americans, Latino Americans, women, eventually you go back to, oh man, the people that you're begging me to elect still actually engage in these problems that they caused us. They won't even apologize for them. And of course, if you ever watch my interviews on whoever I'm on, whatever conference I'm a part of, whatever interviews I'm a part of, my rhetoric doesn't change. My advocacy doesn't change. It doesn't change based off a Democrat or based off a Republican. I wasn't screaming that Kavanaugh should be immediately found guilty. Yet, Joe Biden, we should ignore all the allegations with terrorism. I said, no, they're both entitled to their due process. My opinion notwithstanding, my opinion is irrelevant when it comes to the due process. Yeah, that was my consistent. And what Tara Reid, there just happened to be a lot. Oh, woo, boy. Police reports, all that. And yet, everybody, we're just going to ignore Tara Reid. Tara Reid isn't important. You see how they evolved from we got to get the racists out to we got to get the fascists out. You see, that was slick, wasn't it? That was real smooth the way they hit that pivot on you. They hit you that NBA level pivot. Hey, didn't you say that we should vote out Trump because he's a racist? Hold up real quick. Hold up. Let me pivot over here. What I meant to say was he's a fascist. And that's why we have to get him out. So hold up. He wasn't a fascist 2.5 years ago when you were running on 2018 on him being a racist, and that's why we had to elect more women of color into Congress than ever before. Remember all that? Yeah, I know y'all remember. But now they've pivoted. We can't talk about how racist Donald Trump is, because then you have to talk about how racist Joe Biden is. Then you'd have to talk about the fact that Kamala Harris kept innocent black men in jail because she wanted to use them for slave labor. How she kept a white guy actually, in jail so she could protect police officers. We can talk about the fact that she never actually prosecuted a cop in her career. We can talk about the fact that she pretended to be for reparations and then went on an interview and said, I'm not doing anything specifically for black people. I know I've been running on this idea that I'm going to do stuff specifically for black people. I know I announced on Martin Luther King Day. But no, I'm not going to do anything specifically for black people. I know we're not going to talk about the fact that, of course, communities of colors and black communities specifically are primarily affected by climate change and environmental issues. And that Joe Biden, the guy who was vice president during the Flint water crisis, I know, crazy stuff. Black people are the ones who are primarily affected by these type of issues. People of color also, but black people, because it's the poorest communities in general who occupy those. And Kamala Harris tweets out, Joe Biden will not ban fracking. Joe Biden said, I will not ban fracking, and I repeat, I will not ban fracking. And yet, they believe scientists. Oh, that's right, they believe scientists. They just don't give a fuck about what the scientists got to say. And nobody has anything to say about this but me? Is that why y'all so upset at me? Is my honesty a little bit too inconvenient for your grift? Is that what the issue is? Because if that's the issue, then why not say that? But don't pretend that it's about Jack. Don't pretend it's about OAN, One American News, for those of you who don't know. Don't pretend it's about conservatives versus leftists. Don't pretend it's about fascism, which none of y'all know what the fucking the word fascism means anymore. Y'all have zero idea what the word fascist means anymore. Y'all just don't. You're like, oh man, it's a fascist. First of all, if Jack wouldn't be a fascist, he'd probably have to occupy an office. At the very worst, the only thing that you would be able to say he is a fascist sympathizer, which that isn't true either. I trust you. Trust me. Fascist sympathizers don't like me all that much. And I mean that on both the left and the right. Because y'all know the fascist sympathizers like TYT doing fundraisers for Joe Biden, selling t-shirts based off of Joe Biden quotes from the debate. The civility fascist sympathizers, they don't like me very much either. And that generally goes for both the left and the right. Charlie Kirks don't like me, who's a genuine fascist sympathizer. TYTs don't like me, who's a civility fascist sympathizer. Fascist sympathizers don't like me. And even still, what the fuck? So even if he was a fascist sympathizer, and I could turn, if say 100 million people watch that, I'm not saying that that's the case, that'd be nice, but if 100 million people, what if 100,000 people were so moved by what I had to say? Because I say the same shit every single time. 100,000 people were moved by what I had to say, completely changed their worldview. Then what happens? Y'all don't want 100,000 more allies? Is that what it is? And to be honest with you, they probably don't, because you got to remember, a lot of these people's grift depends on everybody being in pain and suffering, and for the left to never have any genuine victories. That's what their grift is dependent upon. So they probably don't want the allies, if I'm being honest. Maybe that's why they don't want people. They don't want people exposing this reality. Oh, you know what's funny too? So they also said that I was peddling conspiracy theory. It was one of the only quick clips that I saw from this. And I thought like, oh damn, for real? I didn't know I said a conspiracy theory on the show. What did I say? I was like, considering that Biden himself said that the VP needs to be able to take over the presidency. Considering that Obama even said the same thing to a bunch of donors on the phone. Then there's a chance that after a couple of years, Biden could just step down, hand it over to Kamala, and we have 12 years of neoliberalism. And apparently that's a conspiracy theory, which is disturbing. Back in the day when I used to watch politics, we would call that a prediction based off of the facts presented to us. Like the fact that Kamala was chosen by the Hillary Hamptons team, the Hamptons donors. They all met in the Hamptons, and they were like, hey, we want Kamala. Said that in 2017. It happened. It happened. This isn't conjecture. This is fact. Then, of course, Bernie broke damn near every record coming out the gate. Kamala announces she's the front runner. Yeah, definitely the front runner for sure. Yeah. I think it was Kamala announced first, then Bernie announced, but they were saying Kamala was still the front runner. Then after the first debate, I think they were saying that Kamala was the front runner. That was until the second debate. We all remember the second debate, right? That's Kamala's crushing it in black votes. Yeah. Then, despite no matter how unlikable Kamala was, they kept pretending like she was the one who was in the lead until Biden finally had to enter. Remember? Because I remember. And then despite her leaving the race before a single vote was counted, even though she was touted as the front runner, remember she left with 1% of the black vote. That's what she left with. Like 1% support overall, 1% of the black vote. She had no real electoral value to add to this ticket. And they selected her anyway. And so my prediction that the Democrats are going to choose her regardless of whether or not we voted for her is a conspiracy theory. Well, then shit, man, why are we trying to predict the outcome of elections then? People will look at flawed polling, knowing it's flawed, and be like, man, see, clearly Joe Biden's about to destroy Donald Trump. It's not like we have any other election in history within the last 4 years where we looked at polling, thought it was 100% correct, and then got proven wrong while we had to cry on national television and Hillary Clinton to cuss people out in the back because you got her ass handed to her. It's not like that happened. That's not what took place. I mean, hell, we can even talk about the fact that the primary eventually got to the point where Bernie was smoking everybody. And then overnight, after the election was over, Joe Biden hopped from fourth place in some states to obliterating Bernie. Now, granted, we also know why that was. It wasn't for legitimate reasons. But clearly, I think that the one unifying theme is that maybe we shouldn't be using polling to try and determine who's going to win something. And the idea, if what I'm saying is conspiracy theory, then the idea that you can even render a legitimate opinion based off of polling about an election as crazy as this one is the wildest conspiracy theory since Tupac is still alive, even though that's probably not that wild conspiracy theory. That's basically what you're saying. If me going on, I'm just being honest, right? If me going on OAN means I'm a fascist sympathizer, well, I guess that means that Ben is a fascist sympathizer too, because you went on MSNBC and then you spew their propaganda. Isn't that right? And last time I checked, what is MSNBC again? What did Joanne Reese say? Last time I saw rhetoric like this, she was talking about far right wing Trump supporters. She said, whenever we see rhetoric like this overseas, we say that or about Muslims, we call them extremists and terrorists. And you went on that channel. You went on the channel that lied about Russiagate for 4 years, got disproven, and still won't let it die. You went on that channel that lied about the candidate that you tacitly supported for like 5 minutes whenever it was financially convenient for you to do so. You went on that channel, lied every day about that guy. Called Tulsi Gabbard a Russian asset based off of nothing. You went on that channel. And you're part of TYT, who I know lies for money. Lied about Russiagate for money. Don't ask me how I know, but ask them. They know what the deal is. They know I know. Lied about it for money. Took money from Republican donors, Democrat donors, the lead influences in both of those parties, more so the Democratic Party, to push conspiracy theories, literal conspiracy theories. Trump knows Russians. Therefore, he collaborated with Russia. So, like, not only conspiracy theories, but conspiracy theories based in total bigotry. You work for an Armenian genocide denier. Are you kidding me? And you're mad that I went on to OAN to talk about the fact that Biden and Kamala are an imminent danger to the black and brown community, and that the Democratic Party should be absolutely ashamed for propping them up and throwing them in our faces? That's what you're mad about? It's almost like the left loses because they have no priorities or principles sometimes. At least the people who get the, biggest microphone. Look, at the end of the day, I'm going to go on OAN every single time that they offer it to me. I'm going to go on Fox News. They offered it to me. I'm going to go on TYT if they were brave enough to let me on. If Jimmy wanted me, obviously I've been on Jimmy's, but if Jimmy wants me on, I'll go on Jimmy. Somebody wanted to interview me on the side of the street, I'll talk to them. If Ed Schultz, bless his heart, was like, hey man, I'm gonna resurrect myself from the dead and have you come on RT, I'll go on RT. I will literally go anywhere and talk to anyone to spread this message. Because this isn't just my job. This is my life and the life of millions of other people. And that's the facts. It is. I'm sorry. You may not like it, but it is. It's what I do. I go to bars, and I don't know why people want to be friends with me at bars. All I do is talk about politics. I know the camera's overheated, but we're about to finish up. Oh, Glory, thanks for the super chat, Glory. By the way, congratulations, y'all. Glory is with Steve Boykin and the Free Assange crew, but she's doing Slow News Day with Steve now, so that's dope. So congratulations. Go on wherever you gotta go if you say the same thing. If I can talk to anyone, then so can these grown adults. You're speaking facts. And that's it. That's what it comes down to. Y'all already know how I feel about this. If you're scared to talk to anybody, I don't give a damn who it is, about your belief, it's because you're a punk ass who doesn't actually believe in what you're talking about, what you get paid to talk about, what you get hundreds of thousands of views to talk about, what people donate to your Patreon to talk about, join your premium account to talk about. You don't believe in it. You don't really believe in it. Period. I mean, it's not a very complicated calculus at all. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are about this. Like this video, share this video, leave a comment below. Also, make sure that if you engage with anybody else about this, they might tag you, or you just tell them Niko said that they can kiss his ass or see me on camera. Just be like, just go debate him. Just debate him. Just debate him. Which, of course, they won't do. But you should say it anyway. Just so we can start keeping a record of everybody who's running away like it's a damn marathon in the middle of an election. I thought it was an election, but they treat it like it's a marathon. All this running away they do, bro, I'm telling you, they legs about to be just vascular, bro. Just vascular. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Make sure you subscribe to my other YouTube channel, my private one, of course. Make sure you follow us on Rockfin as well. But always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace. If you like that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button. Want access to members-only live streams, behind-the-scenes footage, and other premium content? Well, you can endorse us on Rockfin Premium, become a patron through Patreon, or you can sign up for the MCSC Premium membership through YouTube. All the links are in the description below. But hey, more than anything else,
more than anything else,
always remember,
find your balance.
find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.
peace.